Hi, so now we are looking at the negative exponent property. Negative exponent property is very important because there's always a lot in math of the do's and don'ts that we have. And one of the most important is you're not allowed to have a negative exponent. They don't like to see negative exponents. So when you're asked to simplify or when you ever combine and simplify something, get a negative exponent, we are supposed to rewrite it. This will help us later on in our rational unit for you to really understand what we are actually talking about here. So the negative exponent is when you see a negative exponent, all we do is move it down to the denominator and write it as a positive. So that's what it is. Because if you were to go put a negative in your calculator, so I'm going to ask you guys to do that if you have it near you. If not, pause the video and go get your calculator. And I want you to find out what 2 to the negative second power is. So when you go and put this into your calculator, give you a chance to do that. Pause the video so that way you can try it out. And you'll notice you get a decimal. You should have gotten 0.25. So the negative exponent does not give you a negative number. That's why it is very important to rewrite the property, and that's how this property works. So what this would be is I would move that 2 to the bottom and make it positive, make the squared positive. So instead of it being -2, now it is a +2. So what is 2 squared, everybody? 4. Very good. So this is 1/4. A quarter is 0.25. That is how I easily did that in my head without having to use a calculator. So that is what this property is talking about. Is you're not a negative exponent is never going to give you a negative answer. So we rewrite it to figure out what is that small number going to be. It's always going to be a decimal. The higher the exponent, the smaller the decimal. So to let you see here, if you write this out, b squared is 2b's. B to the 5th is 5b's. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if we do the canceling out, 2b's cancel, 2b's cancel, I left with 3b's where? On the bottom. So this would be 1 over b to the 3rd. If you just did the math, you would have looked at this as b 2 minus 5. And you will see that that is b to the -3. We don't write negatives as our exponent, so we would quickly, after doing the math, rewrite it so it would look like this. Either method is appropriate. You can subtract or you can draw out your pictures. If drawing out your pictures help you solve these problems correctly, then please go ahead and do that. The last two problems. So here, how would we do this? Again, this is the base. It is not the coefficient. It has directly tied to the exponent, making it the base. So I would move it down to the bottom, and I would make that 3 positive. You could go further because, again, this is a number and not a letter, and actually put it into your calculator. If you put it into this calculator, 2 to the 3rd is 8. This would be 1 over 8. We wouldn't put it as a decimal. We'd leave it as our fraction. Same thing with this one. If I go and I move it down, this would be 1 over -3. And you can leave the negative outside on the front or on the bottom, doesn't really matter. But that to the 3rd power needs to become positive there. And there is your answer. I am going to get a next slide will be a couple practice problems for you to do like we did the other powers. And then we have 2 more product properties to look at.